Definitely both Tesla and SpaceX were companies where the competition was really weak. So you were competing with these decrepit car companies in the U.S. that had barely innovated in 50 years. With space, it was these really bad aerospace, half government, half military, industrial complex type entities that were again sort of very bad at innovating, very inefficient. So if you're going to starting a search company, that would be tough because Google's a really tough company to go up against. Going up against General Motors, going up against Lockheed, you're at least picking pretty weak competition, and that was an important strategic thing to get right early on. And there were a lot of challenges in building these companies, but that part of the strategy, I think, is very underrated.
And the fact is, nobody believed electric cars were going to be viable, or very few did.
I remember a conversation I had with Elon in summer of 2008, and I asked him, when was the last successful car company started in the U.S.? And the answer was a Jeep in 1941. And so it was sort of the glass half full, glass quarter full version it was about time after 67 years.
How do you feel about where Tesla's gotten as a company? And where do you think they're going to go?
Well, it's been an incredible success. I would never bet against Elon in anything. So I think that's sort of hard rule number one. It's probably if you sort of ask what is it that the innovation, what's been the innovation in SpaceX or Tesla? There are many different forms innovation takes. The most common one we're used to is sort of you launch something and then you iteratively improve it. It's sort of this continuous improvement model. We occasionally have a modality of innovation where you have a big, brilliant breakthrough, like maybe Bitcoin, where someone worked on it in a closet for 10 years and then released this amazing discovery to the world. But I think there's another modality of innovation that's very underrated, is what I describe as complex coordination, where you just take a lot of different pieces and the innovation is to combine them in a new way. So if you ask, what is new about SpaceX rockets or Tesla cars? All the components already existed, at least in the initial designs, and the critical thing was to pull them all together in a new form. And that sort of vertical integration is somewhat capital intensive, which is why it's quite hard to get it financed, but it's done very little. And then once it's done, it's something that tends to get underrated. I think Apple's iPhone, the first smartphone that really worked, is another example of complex coordination. And when people write biographies on Jobs, it's like, well, he was a jerk, and that's the most interesting thing. And what really is interesting is how was he able to motivate all these people to build this completely new product? And it was that you could do something incredible, not by inventing any specific thing that was new, but bringing all the pieces together in just the right way. And that's what the iPhone represented. That's what Tesla represents with cars, or SpaceX with rockets.
And what is no pun intended, the trajectory of SpaceX, do you think? Because he's now gotten to space many times, got to the space station many times, and he's almost landed the reusable rocket. He's tried twice, and it's apparent he's going to get it, and that's truly innovative.
Yes, well, I think having built this vertically integrated rocket company, it's now possible to innovate on that in ways that would be much harder if you had this super complicated subcontractor, sub-subcontractor system where all the components are bespoke and you can't innovate on the whole thing. So having integrated all the pieces, you can innovate. And if they get to reusability, that is an enormous breakthrough because it would cut costs 70-80%.
Cutting the cost of 70-80% to get to space.
Sure. If every time you flew an airplane you had to throw away the airplane, air travel would be kind of expensive.
Yeah.